What a headshot! What a head!
How's it, guys? This is Dayvy, FPL, and welcome back to the Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. Now in this video, I'm going to be taking you guys through my Game Week 19 transfer plan. This video is basically going to be a combination of updates that we have received from the Premier League meeting that all clubs attended today about the potential postponements of the future fixtures, as well as taking a look at how my team got on in Game Week 18. I'm then going to give you guys a brief update on my transfer plan before Game Week 19 and what we can kind of expect out of the fixtures taking place in the upcoming game week. So that's something you guys are interested in? Sit back, relax, and let's get straight into it. So as I mentioned in the introduction to this video, the Premier League or all Premier League teams actually had a meeting today. It happened earlier this afternoon, and the general consensus of what came out of that meeting was going to be the decision whether to postpone the future game weeks or take a break from the Prem, or kind of carry on with the upcoming game weeks and just take it as it comes. The outcome of that meeting was going to be the latter option. They decided that they were going to continue as they've been doing over these past couple of game weeks, and what that means for us is that we can kind of assume that the games will go ahead. However, there still can be some postponements. So just take Game Week 18 for example. Half the games completely wiped out of the game week due to kind of positive tests or outbreaks at these respective teams, and those can continue for these next couple game weeks. Now the Premier League will kind of meet again in a 2-week window. So 2 weeks from now, they will do a reevaluation of the current setup. But in 2 weeks time, that's basically 3 game weeks. So there's going to be a lot of game weeks happening thick and fast over this festive period. So hopefully there won't be too many postponements and we can take every fixture as they come. So that's the update of that meeting. There was a potential rumor of maybe Game Week 20 being missed. I didn't really understand that because Game Week 19 was preceding that, so why wasn't that game week kind of not going ahead? But a lot of speculation about kind of revenue and that sort of thing. But as of now, all games will go ahead unless the teams do have less than 13 first team players and a goalkeeper, if I remember correctly. However, as I said, this doesn't mean that every game will go ahead, so please leave those transfers for as late as possible, but we'll get onto the transfer plan a little bit later on into this video. And now a quick reminder, I think this has gone kind of under the radar, but this midweek, although we don't have Premier League action, we do have the Carabao Cup or the League Cup, whatever you want to call it. So we do have some fixtures happening tomorrow night, Wednesday, and I think even Thursday evening, but I could be incorrect on that. Generally, it's only Premier League teams featuring in these next round of fixtures, so we have some really good opposition, some really good matchups, but I still do think due to the festive period being so kind of jam-packed with fixtures, I don't exactly think the full starting 11s will be on display for these respective teams. But what these selections will actually give us an insight into is whether which players have tested positive or which players have come back from their positive tests. So Game Week 17, Game Week 18, some games have been postponed, so I don't exactly know which kind of players are going to be out with a positive test and when they're going to be coming back. So these are kind of benchings and the starting 11 selections are going to give us a ton of insight into what players could potentially feature in Game Week 19. And then kind of add to that the usual insights, injury, playing time, all that good stuff. We'll be kind of looking at that throughout the week, and I'll be discussing that in the team selection probably coming up later on this midweek. But now kind of going over the first big talking point of this video, we're going to be going over my Game Week 18 team review, or at least going over a quick analysis just to see which players are potential fires to put out with the transfer plan. So luckily it was actually a pretty good game week for my team. We scored 64 points with no hits taken. The only transfer that we actually did do was going to be Ollie Watkins out, who didn't have a fixture, for Lacazette, who played the first game of the game week. If you guys did actually watch the deadline stream, or there's 2 deadline streams that we did on Saturday, the first one we discovered that the Aston Villa game was actually postponed against Burnley, and then we acted on that kind of news and we took Ollie Watkins out for Lacazette, who played the first game now of the game week and therefore the safest option to kind of go for. Nothing much to talk about on the bench. All 3 of our bench players didn't have fixtures. Don't even know if they would have got points anyway. But going on to the starting 11 or the starting 10, because David De Gea also didn't have a fixture after that United game was postponed, which would have been the first game of Game Week 18. Now, I was kind of contemplating whether to go and take a hit for a goalkeeper. I decided against it because I thought that the option I would go for was going to be Ramsdale, and I thought that Arsenal would concede to Leeds. A little bit unfortunate though, did concede a penalty thanks to my actual player Ben White tackling the Leeds player in the box, so that resulted in only 2 points from Ben White, and Ramsdale owners also didn't get any points because he didn't make any saves. So luckily the decision to not take a hit for a goalkeeper did come through, and the insight on that was good. The rest of the defense though, all returning. We have have James and Alonso, a little bit of a boring game against Wolves, a 0-0 there with Alonso picking up the maximum bonus points of 3. Reece James also might not have had the best game in the world, but at least we did get finally a double Chelsea clean sheet return with both my Chelsea defenders starting and getting me some points. Alexander-Arnold also picking up 7 points there. You might have thought that he got a clean sheet and a bonus point, but that wasn't the case. An assist and 3 bonus points against Spurs, which I will always take, but he is owned by quite a lot of managers, so not really impacting us that much in the overall rankings. But 7 points still just shows you how consistent Trent has been this season and how valuable he's actually been starting the season at 7.5 million. But the player of the game week, João Cancelo, scoring a massive 18 points, a goal, an assist, and a clean sheet with maximum bonus points, taking him to a massive score of 18 points. Now, really well done if you guys managed to captain him in the deadline stream. We were talking about captaining him. Was my favorite Man City option to go for if you guys did watch the ultimate guide or the team selection prior to game week 18. So if you guys managed to go for the Portuguese international, really well done. Massive score there, especially when Mo Salah only returned 2 points. So overall, that Liverpool Spurs game was absolutely insane. The only thing it was missing was the Mo Salah goal. Unfortunately, that didn't come. The goal did come from Diogo Jota, who scored 7 points. And you also have Smith Rowe, who came off the bench. Another game week when Smith Rowe's come off the bench and scored. Absolutely insane what he's doing at the current moment. And I just want him to get a full 90 minutes, because imagine what Smith Rowe would do with a full 90 if he's been scoring with about 10 minutes in each game. But unfortunately, the case with Smith Rowe is that I do think he'll be benched for the upcoming game weeks just because Martinelli's in such good form, Saka's looking strong, and Odegaard apparently played a really good strong fixture in the prior game week. So I think Smith Rowe will find himself on the bench, but if he continues to score off the bench, I have no problem with that. But now, disappointment of the game week, Phil Foden returning 0 points because he didn't even come off the bench against Newcastle. A game that Man City went and won 4-0, would have maybe thought that Phil Foden could have got an attacking return, but no, he was rotated, not because of a kind of pep roulette, but because of behavioral issues. So this was super annoying because I thought that Phil Foden definitely would have actually started this game against Newcastle, and I was really surprised when he was actually benched. But Pep comes out and says that it wasn't a kind of pure rotation, was actually behavioral issues, and that's a real problem for the upcoming game weeks. Because honestly, I don't really know how Pep's going to deal with this. Maybe he sees that they learnt their lesson against Newcastle, weren't in the starting 11, but he could also be the manager that holds a little bit of a grudge, and Phil Foden might be benched for the upcoming game weeks. So that's a real problem that we have to kind of analyze, and I'll talk about in my transfer plan going up to game week 19. As with Man City's fixtures kind of toughening up and there potentially being no double for them, Phil Foden could be on the way out. And then finally, Lacazette, our transfer in for game week 18. Ollie Watkins on the way out, Lacazette on the way in, and luckily he did get a net point gain on that transfer with 5 points returned for 1 assist. Now, Lacazette is a little bit of a weird one because it's almost like an Antonio situation. Arsenal are scoring a lot of goals, but Lacazette is not always involved, and I definitely think the Arsenal midfielders are the better place to go for, as Lacazette has been a little bit hit or miss at the current stage. But nevertheless, 5 points returned in game week 18 is always going to be quite profitable, considering that most teams didn't even have a full starting 11. So just to wrap up the review again, we managed to get 84 points, taking us to just above that 72k mark. And now going on to the game week 19 fixtures. Now what I wanted to do is kind of run through these fixtures, talk you guys through my favorite options or fixtures to kind of target for the upcoming game week. And obviously these games might not actually go ahead. And that's why I also wanted to kind of talk about the fixtures, because there are some teams that are slightly favored to get postponements than other teams because their game week 18 fixtures were also called off. Now there will be about 7 days between the game week 18 and game week 19 fixtures, and there might be some players returning from this positive test, and therefore these games should probably go ahead. But that might not be the case. Maybe the League Cup will give us some more insight into these team situations, but as of now I'm just going to assume that these games are going ahead, and I'll take you through my favorite ones. So starting off there with the Liverpool-Leeds game, great fixture to kind of go by. I think the Liverpool assets will look to rebound after a relatively poor game against Spurs. I'm really hoping that the Liverpool midfield does manage to come back from those positive tests, as they were really lacking in that midfield department against Spurs. Wolves have a great fixture against Watford from a defensive point of view, not really an attacking point of view. However, Adar Jimenez, if you guys still do own him, could be a nice little differential to own in game week 19. Burnley-Everton, relatively low scoring game there, I think. Maybe those Everton assets could be quite favorable, but both these sides aren't playing well at the current moment. Man City Leicester should be quite a good game for Man City. Leicester haven't been defending that well at the current stage, so I do favour Man City there. But Arsenal Norwich is probably the game that we are going to be targeting, and I really do hope that this game goes ahead after I've tripled up on that Arsenal attack and defence. But the team also wanted to kind of highlight here is going to be Spurs versus Crystal Palace. After a relatively good game against Liverpool, Conte looks like he's implemented his style quite well there. Got the tactics right against the strong side. So against Crystal Palace, you got to be backing Spurs to do quite well here. And that's why I think Heung-min Son definitely should be on your guys' horizons, especially because Spurs have a lot of double game weeks coming up, probably in the short term or at least the medium term. And that's why I think the Spurs asset should be favourable if you guys want to look to bring in a midfielder. Don't really think Harry Kane is showing the best form. I think Son's the better option at the current moment, and he comes in cheaper, so kind of a no-brainer there. But also from a defensive department, if you guys want to go for one of their fullbacks, Reguilon and Emerson, they could also be quite strong. West Ham, Southampton, just hoping that Antonio can manage to bounce back here. If you guys did kind of double up with Jared Bowen as well, probably hoping that they do quite well, but this game was also quite a hard one to call. Villa, Chelsea also not playing that well at the current moment, so I mean this game could be quite close. Brighton, Brentford also quite close, but then United, Newcastle, the only game on Monday, should be quite a strong one for these United assets. I am quite jealous if you guys managed to hold on to CL7. I think he could be a great differential captain if you want to go for him. But I think generally most people still go with Mo Salah, even though he blanked in game week 18. Let me know in the comments down below which fixture you think is going to be the highest scoring game and which fixture theoretically should get you the most points. But now finally going on to our transfer plan for the upcoming game week, I think it's going to be no surprise for me to tell you this, that I will be probably holding off my transfers for as late as possible. This video was simply to give you guys some updates on the current situation. The potential double game weeks will be discussed in the ultimate guide coming up probably in 2 days time if I do get the time to kind of analyze. I don't want to kind of squeeze it in this video because there's a lot of things to talk about and I want to make a good video so that it's the most insightful as possible. But also what I wanted to tell you guys is although you should be waiting as long as possible, I do think there's a heavy advantage to banking the transfer for these upcoming double game weeks that we should be getting some more news on in the next couple days or next couple game weeks. So I think if you have no fires to put out or at least no major fires, I would heavily advise for banking your transfer unless we do get some postponements coming up in game week 19. So that's the current transfer plan. Wait as long as possible, analyze the Carabao Cup games, wait for as much news as possible in the double game weeks, which we will be discussing later on this week in the ultimate guide. And then hopefully come that game week 19 deadline, we have a full starting 11 and we can go in with the bank transfer. But this is basically wrap the video, guys. Hopefully you have enjoyed it. Please don't forget to like if you did and subscribe if you have not subscribed yet. Tons of content coming up this week because we have a full week's break between game week 18 and game week 19. Let me know in the comments down below any questions you guys have. Try to reply to every comment as possible. But I'll be seeing you guys for the ultimate guide, the team selection, and probably the top 1010, but a little bit later on this midweek. I'm going to be signing off. It's been Dayvy FPL, and I'm out. Cheers. Bye.